Well, hello, and welcome to another lesson of the Focus on GraphCMS course. I am Marcelo Lewin, the Headless Creator. As always, right there, get a hold of me, Marcelo, at headlesscreator.com. Today, I'm going to show you how to work with components inside of GraphCMS to create page layouts. And this is all based on the layout system that I created in the Content Modeling Weekly course. So feel free to go there. I'll give you specific lessons to go and check out in just a minute. But let's just jump in. We got a lot to cover today. It's going to be really packed. So let me show you my screen. Everybody should be seeing the screen, no problem. If you have any questions, type them in the chat. I'll try to get to them. But there is a lot going on right now that I need to show you. So let's jump into that. Alrighty, so let's talk about components versus content types. And I have a whole lesson on this on the Content Modeling Weekly course. But basically, components hold field structures, the reusable field structures. You want to reuse a whole bunch of fields, you create a component and use that. It doesn't hold content. The content is held within the content type that uses that component. That's where the content resides. It doesn't reside in the component itself. That's just a field structure. And content types, usually you want to use them for reusable content. That's the main thing you want to use them for, right? So that holds real content. That's the big difference between components and content types. Now, this isn't a lesson on all the details on that. For that, you can go to the Content Modeling Weekly course, and I'll tell you which lesson in just a minute. Alrighty, now pages are made out of grids, and you can see right here. So let's review this for a second. You can see right here that this is a page, a very simple page, right? For Headless Creator. At the top, we have navigation. Here, then we have content, and at the bottom we have more navigation, footer. We have a top navigation and a bottom navigation or footer. This is, if you really think about it, this is a highlight that is made out of two columns, right? Two columns, the left column and the right column. We'll talk about the content and the components in just a minute. Now this one is two grids. We have a one column grid that holds a text in the middle. And then we have a three column grid, although we're only showing one of the columns, right? You can have a second column and a third column right there, but we're only showing one of the columns, but it's a three column grid. Here we have another grid. It's a one column grid first that holds text in the middle. And then we have a two column grid that holds an image on the right and some text on the, an image on the left and some text on the right. Right? So that's your grid. Now within grids, you're going to have components, right? So for example, and these are design components, and that's another lesson you want to check out at the Content Modeling Weekly course, because I talk about design, content modeling design in my principles series, which I'll tell you in just a minute. But for example, this component displays lesson information. So this could be like a lesson highlight component. This one is the same thing. It's a lesson highlight component, but it only displays the image, okay? And this will all make sense in just a minute because I'm going to show you those. This one, this is just a text component. Displays some text, centered, large. But this one is a presenter highlight component that fits within the column. So column 1 will have a presenter highlight. Column 2 doesn't now, but it could. Column 3 could also. So as you can see, you can break down the page very easily like that and then decide what is content and what are components. And then your content, it's what's reusable. It doesn't hold any design. Your components in GraphCMS will now usually be tied to your delivery channel, to your design system, right? So here we have another component within this grid. This one is a text component. This one is here we have a course highlight. So on the left, we're highlighting the course, but we're only showing the image. And on the right, we're highlighting the course, but we're showing the title, the description, and a learn more button. I'm going to show you real quick how that, well, it won't be real quick. We're going to go through it, but I'll show you how all that translates into real components in GraphCMS, and honestly in any other headless CMS that supports components, right? Okay, so I want to make sure that we covered everything. I'm checking my list here. We've gone through page grids. We've gone through components within grids. So let's jump in now. I'm going to jump in here to GraphCMS. Let me refresh just to make sure. All right, and what I want to show you is where you create your content types and where you create components. Now, this isn't an in-depth all about components in GraphCMS. GraphCMS has all that. Here, we're going to talk about creating components to do your page layouts, right? So if you want the full details of everything, just go to their site. But I do want to give you a quick overview, which is in GraphCMS, content types are called models and components are called, well, components, right? Then you have enumerations, which are lists basically that you can use in a pull down field. You'll see right here, drop down field, they call it, right? And you use enumerations there. Okay, so we're gonna go through the Miro board in just a minute, and I'm gonna show you also there's a current limitation in GraphCMS that I think they're working on, or at least I hope they're working on, with components specifically. But you can see here, I have my course component, or I'm sorry, my course model, right? Reusable content that I can use anywhere in my organization. But then I have components that are tied directly to the page, right? So I know I need a lesson highlight, a presenter highlight, and you'll see right here I have content lesson highlight, course highlight, presenter highlight, right? We have all of that. So we're good. And I even have a text component. So I'm going to go into that in just a second. All right. So this is where you create components. Now let's review a component. One of the current things, just so you know, one of the current limitations with components in GraphCMS is that components can't hold other components. I'm hoping they change that. Because then it becomes super powerful. And I'll explain why that is so important, because I had to do a workaround here with content types and then use components. I'll explain just a minute. But let's go, for example, into the grid one column. And you can see here, I have a component field. If I edit this field, you can see that I'm allowing this component field, it's a multiple component field, and I'm allowing the following components to be used. For authors, they can add a content lesson highlight, a course highlight, a presenter highlight, or just a text. You'll see exactly what that means because I'm gonna show you the Miro board. But I wanted to show you on the right, you have references, or I'm sorry, you have a bunch of fields, right, that you can add to a content type or a model. One of them is component basic or modular component. Basically, they're both exactly the same. The only difference is the basic allows the referencing of only one component, and modular component allows the referencing of multiple components. Honestly, I would have preferred that you just have a component, a modular component, and I just pick one or I pick multiple. I don't think we need these two, but basically when I add this field, component field, you can see that I can give it a name. Your typical stuff that you do in GraphCMS. But here in select components, I can then select which one I want. You can see once I selected one, because it's a basic component, we're done. I can't select anymore. Let me cancel that. If I click on modular, it's the same thing, but now I can select multiple components, right? And I can say, oh, for this one, I can add, the author will be able to pick between all of these components. Now, there's other settings. Go to the GraphCMS documentation and learn all about them there. Again, this lesson is not about really an introduction to components. It's really how to use components to build this grid layout page. Okay. All right, cool. And I'm looking to make sure we have no questions, and no questions so far. So that's good. All righty. So let's go now. Oh yeah, before I move on, for further reading, if you wanted to learn about, go to the Content Modeling Weekly course there, and here you'll find all the lessons. For components versus content types, check out lesson 17. Okay, that's where you're going to get more information about. I go in depth in that. For the grid layout system that I'm showing you today, go into lesson 46 through 48, and then also how to keep the design content model separate from the content model. Check out my principles series, which is part 1, 2, 3, and 4, lessons 48 through 52. Just wanted to tell you that so that way you can go and check it all out. All right, let's jump into content modeling, or the Miro board here. And sorry, I need a little bit of water there. All right, let's look at my model. So remember, we have a page, a landing page, right? And a page has components, it has content. So in this case, what's the content? The content is, well, it's a lesson, right? This lesson, but this lesson belongs to what? Belongs to a course. So we have lesson, we have course. Course can have many lessons. A course also has a presenter, so we need a presenter content type. And a lesson has a presenter, okay? So there's your basics of the content. We have a landing page that we can create. So here's my content type landing page that I can create. Here I have course. A course can have many lessons, right? And a lesson can have a presenter. Very simple content model, but keep one thing in mind. There's nothing about design. There's nothing about the page here, how it's displayed, right? Because now I can take this content model and send it to any other system because there's nothing about design in there. We're keeping it nice and clean. We're focusing on our content here, and we can display this in any delivery channel we want. Okay, so now we have we have pages, right? Landing pages. Now we have components. So what are some of the components we have? Well, this I'm calling it a lesson highlight component. This one I'm calling it a presenter component or presenter highlight component. This one I'm calling it a course highlight component. And this is just a text component that I can add wherever I want, right? So if we look at our components, here we go. We have a course lesson highlight component that references a course lesson. So it'll reference one of these. See, this is the beautiful thing about it, right? This is for design now, and we're going to use those components in GraphCMS for design. And we're going to reference, in the component, we're going to reference a lesson, but then we're able to basically do stuff in that for that component. Like we want to say, hey, display the course name, display the lesson title, display the date, so on and so forth, as you can see right here. So now we have a course highlight, right? So if we go back to the page, we have a course highlight, which has an image, has a title, a description, a learn more button. So here we have display course name, display description, display image, so on and so forth. And they don't, when I mean they, I'm talking about the authors, they don't need to type in the information because the information is going to come from the course that's being referenced. Here we're just saying, hey, should we display this here or not? Right? And I'll explain why in just a minute, but remember, this is a grid of 2 columns. On the left column, we're going to display the course highlight, but we only want to display the image. On the right, we're going to display the title, description, and learn more, but no image. So we can use this component and just simply answer these questions and let the delivery channel show it the way it wants to show it here via CSS, right? The author just says, hey, I want it in this section, and this is what I want to display here. The delivery channel will figure out how to display that via the CSS. Now, of course, in the design components, we could add other attributes, right? Maybe if you wanted to add a bit more design tied attributes, but I'm not going to do that here because I want to keep it simple so you understand when to use components and when not to. And here we have another one, a presenter highlight, right? It's attached to a presenter, so it's going to grab the information from that entry in the presenter content type. Again, we're keeping design and content completely separate. And then we're going to say, hey, what do we want to display? So for example, here you could see that we want to display the name, the title, we want to display the learn more, and we want to display the image. So if we look at the presenter highlight component, we have that, and we have name, title, bio, photo, and learn more, right? And then of course we have text. Now the text component, it's a pretty simple component. You can make it more complicated or robust. That's the word I was looking for, more robust, right? But right now it's just going to hold text, and it's either going to be, it's going to have some sort of justification, left, right, or center. And then it's going to be small, medium, or large, right? I don't like putting H1, H2, H3 because that's really tying it too much to HTML. I like abstracting that a bit more because H1, H2, H3 may mean nothing in a mobile device, but small, medium, or large does, right? And each channel can decide what is that really, because in this landing page, maybe small is an H4, and another landing page, maybe small is an H3. So we don't want to let the authors decide which H to use. We just say, hey, what's the size you want? So that's my way of doing that. So you can see here, size, small, medium, big, aligned left, center, right, and then text. That's the component. Okay,